if you're a small cap investor that would dream of finding a small cap company that signed an LOI with a multi-billion, in fact, a $10 billion multinational corporation, that you're going to love this interview with HPQ Silicon and the company CEO, Bernard Tudillon. How did they get this sign? Well, a lot of you don't know that silicon metal manufacturing is the largest emitter of CO2 on a per ton basis on the planet. HPQ is on the verge of disrupting the manufacturing of fumed silica, which uses silicon metal and is used in cosmetics, toothpaste, powdered foods, and all sorts of other applications that a lot of us didn't even know about that. And how disruptive is their process? Energy consumption, I'm just talking generalities, more than 90% lower. Greenhouse gases, almost 90% lower. CapEx, more than 90% less just to build the stuff. And the real dirty stuff out there, hydrogen chloride gas, gets completely eliminated. And that's why on July 9th, just a couple of weeks ago, HPQ, their Silicon Pulvera division, signed an LOI with Evonik, a $10 billion company and the inventor of fumed silica. And the news today, commissioning of their fumed silica reactor pilot plant is underway. Bernard, welcome back, my friend.
Thank you.
Hey, I want to hop straight into, like, you say something here in the press release. We have an opportunity to change fumed silica manufacturing forever. So two things.
Mm-hmm.
1 minute, because there are a lot of new people that are starting to watch who are saying, I don't know what fumed silica manufacturing is. So for 1 minute, big grand overview about how you're doing it. And then what is it, what could it mean to change fumed silica manufacturing forever?
Well, it's simple. Fumed silica manufacturing, as weird as it is, okay, starts with quartz, goes to silicon, okay. Silicon is then transferred to tetrachloride silicone, and that material is then burned with hydrogen to make the fumed silica. So it's a very complicated, expensive, long, bad for the environment process that's there. Remember, as you said, silicon metal manufacturing, which is the feedstock used into this, okay, is the largest emitters of CO2 per grams of material fabricated. Now, we've developed a process, what HPQ Silicon Process has developed and owns the patent to a process where we go directly from quartz to fumed silica in one step. So we cut so many steps, so many capital intensive, so many of the requirements. We cut the energy by 90%, all those issues, it's all there in our presentation. So when you cut all of these things, okay, you also at the same time demolish the barriers to entry. Because right now, if you want to become a fumed silica manufacturer, if George wanted to become a fumed silica, George Co. is the company as we often use in this, George Con, basically wanted to become a fumed silica manufacturer, he would need first to have either an access to silicon metal, a capacity to turn in silicon tetrachloride, and a facility then to convert that silicon tetrachloride into fumed silica. Had to figure out how to deal with all, because basically you make more hydrogen chloride gas and you make fumed silica, and then you go out and sell it, and it's a very low margin business but high capex. So it's like it's not a fun business to be in. This is why it is controlled by large vertically integrated chemical companies. Okay, so these guys have accustomed to dealing with large chemical plants, large industrial technologies that have massive footprint and all those issues. On the other hand, what HPQ is doing, okay, HPQ Silicon Process, what we've developed is a one-step process, basically very small, compact, where we take quartz and we go directly to fumed silica. And where we are at in our development, when I say we're going to change fumed silica, is we've validated at lab scale that we can make the material to the quality that's commercially available, okay? And what we're about to do is demonstrate how we know how to scale this up, and we're going to start making it a larger scale. And then basically from that moment on, there'll be two processes, one dinosaur process to make and one brand new fresh process to make it, which is ours, which is we own. HPQ Silicon Process owns.
And it's no small thing for you to say you're changing manufacturing of it forever. Now, this for the existing shareholders know the story, they love the story, they've been following the progress, they love the progress. It's no small thing for any company to say we're going to change manufacturing of insert good insert product forever. But
Hmm.
this feels like a Netflix to Blockbuster kind of moment. This feels like an iPhone to traditional flip phone kind of moment where you're this is a massive paradigm shift. How confident are
Hmm.
you? Is it a daunting? I know you're confident, but it's almost daunting to say we're going to change this manufacturing forever. We're going to turn it upside down its head. It's never going to be the same.
No, because it's a fact. It's as simple as that. It's a fact. Okay. Just the fact that we've made it at lab scale and that we have one of the biggest player in the industry that validated that we made material that meets their specification, which is the reason why we have the LOI, tells you that we've already changed. We've changed, at least in the mind of one company, that there is a real danger to their traditional process of making it. Now, there's always risk to scaling it up, but this is something that we feel very comfortable where we are with the risk situation. So we feel very comfortable that we're going to go through all the processes required. This is what's going on. This is what the commissioning means, and this is where we're moving forward with this. So yes, there's a risk, okay, but what's the risk? There's a risk when you get up in the morning, when you cross across the street. It's like theoretically, if you want no risk and you want to live in a bunker, go do that, okay?
Yes.
But it's a question of how can you manage risk, and we're managing that risk extraordinarily well, okay? Because we don't feel it's outside of it's fully within our control.
And that answer is going to come to everybody pretty fast because then you go on to say the production of fumed silica material and the first sample delivery is on schedule for Q3. So
Mhm.
that's right now because Q3 is July, August, September. And here we
Mhm.
are essentially, third week of July. So we're going to know in the next couple months at most uh,
Mhm.
if with your first sample delivery, which is going to go to Evonik. Question for you, I always ask, is it going to be in July? I mean, we're on the 23rd of July now. Is it going to be July? Is it going to be in August? Is it going to be in September? Can you give everyone a ballpark expectation? I'm not asking for a specific date, but maybe a ballpark expectation or
I won't, because it's sort of a process, and I've gone through this with the other system, and Pyro's gone through this. All right. There's a series of steps. You have a Gantt chart of everything goes on. Okay. If everything works well, it's one scenario. If one snap we're here, it's longer, but maybe you could cut something else. And it becomes, how can I say this? The question mark, the credibility factor becomes more on respecting the timeline than doing the material. Okay. To be totally honest, okay, once we make the stuff and Evonik vouches it, nobody's going to care about the timeline. Now,
making
Evonik,
it is the right.
we have no issue that we're going to be making it. Pyro has no issue we're going to make it. Why do you think he took a 50% equity stake into the company? Why do you think he converted his royalty, which basically meant, if he kept his royalty, Bernard takes all the risk, and, HPQ shareholders take all the risk, get it going. And then after that, he could have come at any time. But he knew we were negotiating with Evonik. Why would Evonik come and sign into it? So I understand that for some people, they want to know exactly at what second we're going to make it. We don't know. It's a weird concept for people to understand, okay? We know the
Well, I think
ballpark
they
big.
get it. I think they get it because still
Well, there's some
you're
people that
not
don't
making
get
a
it, but
pizza.
basically,
You're not making a pizza.
yeah, but yes, but everybody in the team, people at Evonik, everybody that I talk to, people at Pyro, knows that we're going to be making this stuff. Okay, I even feel even much more comfortable because I went through this ringer with the QRR. Okay, which in some respect was much more complicated than what we're doing. Some respect, no, some respect the same. So. And one of the things I learned is it's very difficult to give timelines because there's always snafu. That
I
can
gotta ask,
happen.
right? I always I got sometimes you're able to give us a bit of a ballpark, but I gotta ask because I can again, like I always say, I can feel people back to the future saying, George, why don't you ask them when that might be? Because we know from watching all the investors on social that they're all anticipation, they all got their countdown clock. But either way, you're talking about in the worst case scenario, we're gonna know in the next 8, 9 weeks, in the worst case scenario at the end of September. So the going back to how I asked you this question,
Okay, but
the issue of risk, the issue of risk is going to be known.
well, the risk is already known. We already know the risk. Okay, we already know the risk. The risk is pretty darn small because it's a scaling up of the process. Okay, if I talk to the engineer and the engineer in charge of the project is Pyro, he has no doubt. Now, we all know that when the machines start, it's going to be more sweat and tears and doing a few things because we've gone through the ringer. But we also know that you go through the ringers and then you end up getting the end product and then you end up moving into the right position. So as I keep repeating back, okay, whenever we make that material, okay, and Evonik comes and says, yes, it meets the criteria, is there somebody still going to complain about the timeline? No. Yeah. But in between, yes. But so this is why I don't want to give any specific timeline.
Wait, when you say sweat and tears, you mean sweat and blood? Could that be another Bernieism there?
Oh, it's
another
Bernieism? Another one of mine.
Check.
Check. Okay.
What role is Evonik?
Is it my one tourism or Bernardism of this video, or there'll be more?
Your Bernardism, your Bernieism. There's another one. We love it. Someone out there is keeping track of these. They better be. What role is Evonik going to be playing in this process? Obviously, they're going to take delivery of the first sample, and they are going to verify if, in fact, you're able to do it at pilot plant scale. But any other role they may or may not be playing in consulting, assisting in any way, or are they just sitting back and watching you and Pyro do your magic?
Okay. As we said in the press release, they have 80 years of experience making fumed silica. So if the moment we start making it, there'll be there'll be ongoing discussion, but they're not involved into it for actually two very specific reasons. For a company like them to be overly involved into it, it would become much more bureaucratic and technical. So they prefer to leave the flexible small tech, basically deep tech company, nimble company, deep tech company like us, taking care of these details. But what they have is going to come to be super important is all the questioning about packaging. How do we do it? Bulk sampling, bulk packaging, all those mind-numbing issues, which we have absolutely no experience, okay? Because it would not surprise me that if you choose the wrong bag to put the material into it, you could render it worthless, okay? That's one of the biggest reasons why we also wanted this deal. Not only the validation of it, but we're going to learn a massive amount of doing this. Our learning curve is going to be more advanced. So as we start making more material, as we start going to the issue of moving the plant to full scale production, of course their input is going to be increasing. At this moment, they have full confidence that we're going to succeed, as we do. Okay, but they're letting us do that part.
Yeah, I guess the analogy, as you're saying now, going back to the pizza analogy, is it's one thing to learn it's one thing to prove you can make the best pizza in the world, but you'd still gonna need some insight, and you're gonna have a learning curve on the logistics of delivering it and supplying and all that kind of stuff. So I guess that's where Evonik's gonna really, they're gonna let you make the pizza, but they're gonna help you with the logistics side. All those other little questions.
I think a lot of people don't realize that that's probably even more crucial than for us making the stuff. Us making the stuff is not really the crucial part. It's going to be, how do we go about commercializing, marketing, getting those things? Okay, how are you going to go get your first order when you're a new producer of a material that's been made by a certain process for many times? Okay, those are all the questions that were in the back of our mind that led us to really negotiate that LOI, because that is worth a lot of money for HPQ to be able to HPQ Silicon Process to be able to do it. So the concept is, we know how to make the stuff. Okay, they know how to make the stuff, they know how to validate the stuff, and they know how to sell the stuff. Well, sell the stuff. Okay, so we're just going to change, as I said, we're going to change manufacturing. That's what we're going to be that's what we're focused on, changing manufacturing forever. The rest of it's about almost the same.
So you talk about commercialization further down, where you say the goal is an offtake. I'm paraphrasing. The goal is an offtake agreement that'll cover both the material produced by the pilot system and the inaugural 1,000-ton per year commercial scale plant.
Mhm.
So I remember from the deck that there were
Mhm.
three different scenarios in terms
Yeah.
of, but it was about an average about 8,000 tons per ton. So a
No,
thousand
eight thousand
tons,
dollars per ton. Yeah, well, let
eight
me
thousand
just
dollars per ton. So a thousand
let me
tons
just
would
share it.
be, yeah.
Don't make the numbers. We have it on our deck, page 9. Okay,
Okay.
so
Because
it's
I
clear,
want to,
right?
let's talk about what, because what this is going to mean for everybody. So you got three scenarios. You got A150, A200, A300.
Mhm.
The first one, uh, 5,000. The second one, 5 million, 8 million, then 10 million. So we'll
So
take
it's basically
the
the
middle
selling
scenario.
we know that the material, specific size range, 150 cubic meter, those issues basically affect the price you get. Normal. But for us, manufacturing cost does not change. Okay, so we've estimated it between $1.40 per kilogram when we start, because we won't be as efficient. We'll go down to probably around $1 when we operate. So it gives you an idea. So if we make A150, we'll get $5. If we make A200, we'll get $8. If we make A300, we'll go to $10. Okay. But fundamentally, the mathematic doesn't change. The EBITDA is going to be anywhere between 72% to 90%. So on that same sale, that same material will make anywhere between 3.6 to $9 million per thousand ton. Okay.
So
Now
if we
we would
take the middle
all
scenario,
so in the
you're talking about
middle scenario basically
6.6 to 7 million
$7 million. So 6.6 per $7
per
million
year
per year
on one plant.
on one plant, one system. But if you look here, okay, Canada's market is large enough to accumulate 10 of our reactors.
Would it need it, Bernard, right away? Like, hey, okay, we've proven it. It's economical. We got it down pat. We know how to deliver, make the pizza. Let's go build 10 in the next 18 months. Or would that 10 be, and I know you may not even have this answer, but I ask, or would that 10 be like two a year for 5 years or something like that?
Um, we have made different scenarios, okay, which play around different capex costs, definitely different capital requirement, different issues. So we've played around different scenarios to get us as fast as possible, to get as fast as possible to a certain size or scope. Okay.
Grab some
But the
water.
idea,
We don't want you choking out on the show, buddy. We need you
no,
alive
it's okay.
until this scenario comes through. Then do what you
Yeah,
want.
then I can joke. No, and I think the idea is going to be, and I could be wrong. I could be proven wrong by the demand for it, the issues surrounding it. But the idea is going to be at least build a first plan. Okay. Validated all the data points are there. And then after that, just copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. So the first one is the key. Okay. We don't think there's going to be any issues scaling up, but the first scaling up is going to be, okay, we could do this better. We could do there's going to be a lot of things. And the scope of the idea, what we present there on this page, is the concept of you build one plant, okay, that will fundamentally have, multiple systems. So you'll have one feedstock delivery capacity and one packaging facility for multiple plants. So that's a general idea. But all of this will come to full fruition only was this is at point 3 what we're looking at. Okay, because point 1 and 2 for us it's not even point 3 is we just want to make sure that we got all the right numbers for the data point. We think when we finish the pilot scale we will be in an even better position, but we'll wait. So this is why we need all those data points so we can basically make the right and accurate decision, and we can sit down and negotiate a very valuable offtake agreement for us that will cover probably multiple of things. We can't do it now. We could do it now if our interest was just, bumping up the share price. But because that would sound good, we have a contract, but then, there's still too many unknown. Okay. So is it going to be $1.40? Or is it going to be $1.22? This is what we need to know.
Even that process, from the looks of the press release, by Q1 next year, uh, you'll be in full mode.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming, again, George's business brain happening, that these conversations will start taking place Q1, Q2 next year? Again, you probably can't answer
No,
that,
they're
but that's
starting
sort of
now. They're gonna start now. They're gonna be ongoing now. Okay, there's gonna be ongoing for us. Like it's not that much of a complicated system for us to get all the cost. Okay, as we get closer to once we start making the material and we've done the ratio of how much material we need to lose, and all those things, we'll have a great ballpark of all those numbers. Okay, I don't want 100% certainty and everything finish. Okay, once we're going to get it operational, we'll get it known. But once we see in the press release, we say that we're going to go from operating on a batch protocol. Okay. Well, the moment we progress to a semi-continuous batch protocol, which is going to be basically commercial scale, okay, then we're going to be pretty close up to know, because the biggest cost of making fumed silica for us, like anybody else in the industry, is energy. That's just a key point for us. Value of the cost of the quartz, we given value of packaging and the employees, those are easy to calculate. It's just validating the energy and validating the waste. Okay, what's your true yield? So for 1 ton of quartz, how much do I really get into it? Those are about the 2 last points we need to finalize to be able to do it. So it's not next year. Next year we will be producing commercially and sending material commercially. Okay. Once we've switched from batch protocol to semi-continuous protocol, now we're getting pretty close, because then we'll have an excellent idea of the energy cost. It's really, for us, it's really finalizing the energy cost. And why is that so important is, in this day and age where energy is such a high demand asset, okay, you got to be able to say, okay, we need this much energy. Then we'll be able to play around. So where we put the first plant, how do we get those issues organized? We know the ballpark figure, okay, but the ballpark figures have margin of errors to our advantage. So,
and then at that point, just becomes a case of, all right, because you talked about the 10 units that Canada could sustain, but obviously Canada is a very small market relative to the US, continental Europe, and all, and Asia, and so on and so forth. So at that point, it comes a question of um, the best deal for distribution, right? Do you go on your own? Do you do a JV with Evonik? Do you sell it outright? That's going to be that sounds like some nice options that you have under your sleeve, assuming that nothing unforeseen happens. Sounds like from the conversation we're having, it's just a case of it's not a case of if, it's a case of when. It's just a case of just fine tuning some of the details. Like commercialization is happening. It's just a
now,
case of what the final number is going to be, and that's not that big of a variance at the end of the day.
well, it could end up playing a lot of the variance, because one of the issues that we're going to end up negotiating is going to be the selling price of the material. Because if you have a guaranteed selling price, then and a guaranteed volume, then it's not the same thing as if we have to go and build those issues. So yes, there's some variable, but the key point is we are in commercialization. From the moment we sign the LOI, we are really in pre-commercialization toward getting the commercialization. Now, the revenue streams are going to come out of it. It's going to start coming a little bit next year when we start selling the material from the pilot plant. But it's really the potential is going to become so clear for the value of the system, the value of the technology, that will be what will be the we should get rewarded on the potential where it is.
Evonik is the lead horse, obviously, because you got the LOI signed with them, and that's I'm assuming that's who you want to go to the dance with at the end of the day. But
well, again,
you are a public company, so shareholders full transparency. I'm assuming it's still potentially an open process. Somebody else could come along late in the game and say, "Wow, you guys have proven this. Here comes George Silicon saying we want to do a deal with you." Is that possible?
You read the press release on the LOI. Did it mention exclusivity? Did it mention any specific conditions? No.
Do you have any reason to believe that at some point, as it gets closer and closer, there will be more of a auction process, bidding process, people who are really coming to the table hard, and maybe they just some other players are waiting and sitting and waiting to see what you can actually prove? Do you have any reason to believe that you may get that? Or and I'm not trying to scare Evonik like that. Obviously, the number one in the world, and they're a great partner, and they're the ones who put their name to HPQ, so shareholders were all appreciative of that. But having said that, do you have any reason to believe that other market players may put their hat in the ring?
I will just answer it this way. The party I signed the LOI with is afraid of that.
Well, if this is the Netflix moment, if this is the Spotify moment, then you don't want to be Blockbuster. You don't want to be the record store. You want to make sure you get on this new distribution, on this new product, right? On this new model. So that's what I thought. I want to ask you more, but we can't. And I think you just answered it right there. Anyways, I think you answered it all. Last question for you.
Mhm.
You're not a one-trick pony. Obviously,
Sure.
Fumed Silica is the lead pony in the HPQ Silicon stable. Could you have pictured a year ago? Because it was about a year ago when the Fumed Silica side started to really take off, and the other horses obviously have made advances. How happy are you? Last question is, how happy are you with the HPQ Silicon stable, and how the 4 legs have just moved forward and advanced, and Fumed Silica being the lead horse? Could you have pictured
Um,
this a year ago, Bernard? A year ago, could you have pictured
no,
being?
it was difficult a year ago. See, I always dream as an R&D company that does develop many projects. Okay. I've always dreamed to be in a position where I just don't have one horse to deal with. And the issue was last year when we did the QRR and those issues, it basically it showed like all the other things were not falling into places as fast as I wanted them to fall into place. But now they're really falling into place. So that's good because in a certain way, although the fumed silica is the fastest one that's going to go to commercialization with the one with the biggest margin potential. Okay. Many other things that we're working on our stable, not stable, basically are coming into vein, and they're really falling into places. The QRR, I had to work more on the battery side of the equation so that I have my own offtake capacity coming along. Okay. We've always said that. And that's really coming to fruition. Okay. The hydrogen is also coming into fruition, coming into play. It's going to be a great autonomous system. And these are not things that requires, $100 million of capital before they start generating revenue, starting revenue interest, starting to be able to attract significant government grants. So, we're much better positioned than we ever were with all the verticalities we're working with. And we have the advantage of at least having one that is very easy to understand and visualize, where we actually got the validation from a big player in that industry. Okay. We will get the same things we will replicate the same models and the other things that we're working on and getting those things moving together. So HPQ is very well situated. The fumed silica will be a driver for news, and our unique capacity, okay, to produce a material, to produce materials with an S, okay, and at the same time, for cheaper, at the same time delivering a fantastic lower carbon footprint, okay, is an incredible advantage that we have, and is going to come into fruition. It is even though EEG investment is no more in fashion, there are some funds, there are a lot of money interested in investing in those issues, and they're starting to turn around. They are in communication with us. The advantage that we now have is that for at least two of our projects, well, three of our projects really, we're not a PowerPoint company. Okay. QRR, we demonstrated the technology work. Fumed Silica, we demonstrated work, we signed an LOI. The battery side, we're making full-size bloody batteries. Like just, use ChatGPT to try to figure out. It puts us at the leading edge of where it is. We're not going to be doing, pouch, other type of material. So we're not a PowerPoint company. We now use PowerPoint to show the results of the work we've done. But we have accomplished a lot of things in the last year. We've brought the company much forward and a much stronger technological footage. And the rest will fall into places.
Perfect wrap up, my friend. Thanks for joining us today. Great news again. And obviously a lot of the investors were anticipating that commission will be underway, and here it is. But it's always great to see it because none of us, I think, take for granted. And you've done a good job of that. But to see that commissioning is now taking place is amazing. And I guess what would be next? What would be the next milestone here? I know I said the last question, but I just thought about that. Will we hear anything out of Fumed Silica for a while, or is the next one going to be when the first Fumed Silica material is produced and delivered? So let's say it was mid-September, end of Q3, when you finally got the product made. Is that the next time we'll hear from you, or are there other milestones in between that you have that?
There are other milestones that we're working on.
All right, we'll leave it at that.
I'm just
Thanks,
talking
my
about
man.
for the Fumed Silica. For the other project we're working on, there's going to be continuous milestone.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking, man, could this be our last Fumed Silica interview for a while, given the fact that now the goal is to produce and deliver the first sample, and like I said, you couldn't be specific. It's going to be in Q3, so I started thinking, man, it might be a minute. But thanks for the great news today, Bernard. And as always, thank you for taking the time to talk about these. I love the way we do our interviews. The almost, Joe Rogan style, freestyle. We give people some great education. You're always educating me. You're always educating the shareholders. And more importantly, I think everyone really feels like they're part of the process, which is the best thing. And I think you've done a great service to all shareholders of HPQ, my friend. So thanks for joining us. To everybody at home, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. See you next time.
Hey Small Cap fam, I hope you loved this interview because more than a dozen people were involved in its production for the sole purpose of making you happy. If so, can you take a moment to support both our awesome guest company and Agora.com? Your engagement means the world to us. First, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up by tapping that like button. It's a small gesture that helps this interview reach even more potential investors to discover today's guest. Second, we would love to hear your feedback on this interview, so please leave a comment below. Be sure to keep it clean, but feel free to poke fun at George. If you loved what you heard on today's video and want to dig into our guest company right away, take a look at the links in the description below. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to never miss another great Agora.com small cap video. Thank you so much. We couldn't do any of this without you. Make sure to come back soon.